Nigeria's Federal Inland Revenue Service is intensifying efforts to modernize tax compliance through the rollout of e-invoicing on the new FIRS MBS platform. This marks a major shift in the country's taxation landscape, targeting VAT compliance across all transaction types such as B2B, B2G, and B2C, and it applies to both domestic and foreign suppliers. But as digital transformation accelerates, the question remains, are the banks and major transaction processors truly ready to support this system? And how feasible is full implementation in Nigeria's current regulatory and infrastructural environment? Well, joining me now on News Central Now to unpack this development and what it means for businesses, suppliers, and financial institutions is Femi Babim, partner at KPMG Nigeria. Thank you so much, Femi, for joining us on the news. Now, I'll start off by asking, what are the key features of the Federal Inland Revenue Service's Merchant Buyer Solution, that's the FIRS MBS e-voicing platform? How does this aim to improve tax compliance for businesses, especially in the banking sector?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on the show. I think the first point that we need to establish is that the initiative, the Merchant Buyer Solution, the e-invoicing solution as introduced by the FIRS, aligns with the global best practice around digital reporting, which is the trend of tax authorities globally, where they apply technologies to improve tax administration and tax compliance. And so what the Merchant Buyer Solution does is to give visibility to the FIRS of transactions that are conducted by businesses on a real-time or a very near real-time basis. So as invoices are being issued by companies or as transactions are happening between buyers and sellers, they have to pass through the MBS platform so that the FIRS would approve, capture the data, and when that invoice has been approved or that transaction has been validated or captured, then it can be transmitted to the buyer. What it does is provides a full picture to the tax authorities of transactions that are happening within the ecosystem. And so it's a positive step. It's in line with global best practice, and it will help in terms of compliance from the FIRS side, capture more of the transactions conducted by businesses, reduce the tax leakages that we currently have, and widen the tax net. So it's a positive step for the tax authorities. For businesses also, it will help in terms of improving their documentation, help in terms of record keeping, and in terms of transmission of data. You have to invest in technology to be able to do this. So in the long run, it's a win-win for both businesses and the regulator.
So how will the phased rollout of the e-invoicing mandate be implemented? And will this impact banks' operational processes? What steps should they take to ensure compliance with FIRS requirements?
So the way the FIRS has talked about this is that they intend to roll it out in phases. So the immediate focus will be on large taxpayers, and large taxpayers are defined as taxpayers that earn above 5 billion naira currently. So if you are a business in Nigeria and your turnover is above 5 billion, you are mandated, in terms of your supplies, if they are above 5 billion, you are mandated to comply and connect to the MBS before the end of December. By the end of December, you should be connected. From January 2026, when the law then becomes fully effective, we would begin to see it cascaded to other levels of companies. So you have the medium-sized companies, the small-sized companies may also need to connect, but it's going to be phased in that manner. Again, we think it will also be phased along industries. Immediate startups have been the telecoms. They've taken the lead here. And so as telecoms have rolled out, it will be easier to push that to all other telecom companies. And then we expect banks to follow the oil and gas and all of that. So that's a phased approach. And then for businesses, to comply, you need to then invest in the necessary infrastructure. So both from a technology point of view, from a data point of view, you need to have the right IT skills and support to get you through, what the processes are. It's a technical matter, and so you need a lot of technical support to be able to get it through.
So what are the possible challenges that banks could face in integrating this existing systems with the FIRS MBS platform?
So for banks, banks are even in a unique place, like some other industries are. For the banks, their compliance requirements is not only on their transactions, as the supplies that they make. Banks usually earn their revenues from commission, from interest and the related fees and all. Those are usually direct debits. So for banks, for their revenue lines, it's more likely than not be a fiscalization model. The FIRS will use to collect the data that will be used for their VAT computation based on revenue. But for banks, they also have the unique responsibility of accounting for VAT on purchases, right? And so they have that obligation to also then capture VAT that is invoiced to them, which means that they have the responsibility to encourage their vendors to also comply with this requirement. So it's going to be important for banks because of the way FIRS is going to roll this out. It will impact the way their transactions are reported. It will impact the way they interact with their vendors, and it would impact the kind of technologies that have been deployed currently to service their customers. There's also a requirement somewhere in the law where they will need to report transactions above a certain threshold that go through customers' accounts. That also will require a level of investment from the banks when that becomes effective.
All right, Femi, thank you so much for joining us on the news and bringing your opinions on this. We appreciate your time.